All right, so it's early. I'm sitting in my massage chair. I'm busting out some content for you guys. So I watch YouTube every night, and I have a lot of the popular guys on my channel. And why I'm even talking about this, what I'm getting ready to say is, why can't our industry get their shit together? We're just going to start with transmission services. So I had two of the popular YouTube mechanics. Excuse me. I'm not going to give out any names. Although if you watch them, you're gonna this is gonna resonate with you because you're gonna hear the same thing I heard. And this is recent videos, both about transmission services. The one technician was talking about how he's getting phone calls that Ford dealerships are saying the transmissions are unserviceable. Ford's been saying that for I can't even tell you how many years. It's all lies. Then he was talking about how he recommends transmission services, and he was saying 40,000 miles, and then he would pull the pan, change the fluid and the filter and gasket, put it back up, and then at another 40,000 miles, just come back and do a flush, and then alternate. I don't agree with that method, and this is why the industry needs to get their story straight for all of our services. I have always been told, depending on the use of the vehicle, that, and if it's a manual transmission, depending on the use, and because there's no filters in a manual transmission that I know of, we're just going to say automatic transmissions, that every 30,000 miles, the transmission needs to be serviced. And that even goes for CVTs. Now, if this vehicle is a tow vehicle, a chase vehicle, a mail delivery vehicle, a super abused vehicle, right? Wouldn't that lower the maintenance interval to a lesser mileage? Absolutely it would. So he said 40,000 miles. And I bet if you ask any transmission shop, they're going to tell you probably 30,000 miles or less. I watched that CVT transmission guy saying the same thing. Change the fluid every 30,000 miles and change the filter in the CVT transmission. That's it. You got the guys who build transmissions know better than the dealership mechanics who are just mechanics, because most of them have just a transmission guy and that's all he does. And then another YouTuber said 30 to 60,000 miles. And this is where the general public and even technicians get confused, is that, well, what is it? Is it 30,000 miles? Is it 60,000 miles? Is it never? So I'm going to say everybody in our industry needs to get their shit together and be on the same page. Period. Same thing with GDIs. Get on the same page. Same thing with oil change. Everybody get on the same page. It's really not that hard. If we took the top 10 or 20 guys in our industry that speak to the world, right? That would be me, Ford Boss Me, Ford Master Tech Moco Loco, Piney Hollow Auto, and there's so many of us, but just pick 20. I bet if we all sat down and talked about this, we would bring continuity to maintenance intervals instead of, well, don't do it, never do it, I don't do it, he doesn't do it, they say don't do it. There is a timeline for things to be maintained. Oil changes, GM just put the blender on high speed, or our engine failure and our engine failures and our engine failures, and well, hold on, well, we fucked up, so now we're not going to put 020 in our engines anymore. Now you're going to go to 040. I completely believe all the engine issues today are from lowest quality build materials, lowest quality education to your consumer on how to maintain that vehicle. Your technicians aren't advising, or they are advising and the customer's saying no. People are using the wrong blend of gasoline when they should be using a better blend of gasoline. All the maintenance schedules are completely confusing and not cheap anymore today. And go back to helping the customer have a reliable product, even with all the misinformation out there. Low tension rings have been around forever. There has guys been building race engines with low tension rings and high tension rings and thick ring lands and thick piston. The race car guys know they're not using their engine oil every pass. Maybe 2 passes, 3, maybe one night of racing. That's it. If the engine stays together, they don't care how clean it is. They're going to change it anyway. Everybody in the racing community knows what to do. Why can't the auto industry get their shit together? I talked to a radiator shop guy who's been around for, I don't know, since the beginning of time for antifreeze. And you know what he said? I don't care what antifreeze you have. 2 years, change your antifreeze. 2 years. GM was saying lifetime or 100,000 miles. Antifreeze doesn't last that long. Antifreeze in a bottle in a sealed environment will, but then it becomes contaminated with the environment that it's in. Then it becomes very acidic and it's picking up contaminants and corrosion, and there you have it. It's crazy. The industry really needs to get their shit together. If anyone disagrees, talk about it. But if you believe that there should be some serious continuity in the industry, and it starts at the top with all the engine manufacturers. I've been in business since 1991, and then I was in high school working on cars. I've never seen so much engine failure in my entire career. Engine failure. And what I mean engine failure, if your engine's burning oil, it's engine failure. If your engine's smoking, it's engine failure. If your engine's tapping and rattling, it's engine failure. It may not be catastrophic, but it's engine failure. And you can continue to drive around with a rod knock and valves tapping and time and chain rattling until it grenades, right? That's catastrophic failure. But how do you avoid all that, right? There's some stuff that's just a piss poor design. But that's not always the fact. I'm going to take it back to it's the poor maintenance intervals. I'm driving around a 97 F-150 with the original time and chain components, motor and transmission, 180,000 miles. And I'm not even the original owner. Does it burn a little oil? It does, because the last guy didn't take care of his engine properly. Time and chain doesn't rattle. Phasers aren't making any noise. Whatever the timing components are. Starts right up, it's quiet. Drive it, it's quiet. I change my oil every 3,000 miles. Doesn't matter what kind of car it is. The newer Kia that we have, we're testing that. So at 3,000 miles, I checked the oil and it was clean. The oil tells me when it's time. That's how I feel. Anyone else can argue with me till the end of time. I don't really care. My experience is I've never lost an engine from not changing the oil. Never. I've lost an engine from the oil pump grenading in my black F-150 that I bought 4th owner and poorly maintained. And I knew it was only a matter of time before something would blow up on that car because it was on borrowed time when I got it. Now, could I have saved that engine? Yeah. Tear it all apart, do time and chains, phasers, guides, all that stuff, and hope that the bottom end would stay together, an oil pump. But over 200,000 miles of previous owners or previous people abusing that engine, I will tell you, if I had that vehicle for a longer period of time, or an earlier period of time, it probably wouldn't have broke an oil pump. It probably wouldn't have failed the time and chains because of sooner maintenance. So the Kia, we went to 4,000 miles, and now we're going to see what my oil looks like in the Kia engine at 4,000 miles versus the Kia oil. So if it's still clean at 4,000 miles or it's starting to get some color, I'm just going to change it because that's what I do. And then the next owner who gets this leased vehicle, just like my last leased vehicle, doesn't really have to worry about buying a car that the oil wasn't changed properly. There's a difference between, oh yeah, I changed my oil. I change my oil when the oil light comes on, right? Which is 10,000 miles. Which oil light? Low oil light or, oil change light, and then you drive it for another 3,000 miles. You hear it all the time, oh, I take care of my car. And then you look at the car and like, at what point do you say you're taking care of the car? Right? Crazy. The industry has to get continuity. And the consumer will benefit in the end, you know. One thing Scotty Kilmer just posted a video about, you know, he was flossing and flexing, you know, how many viewers and subscribers he has, even though people talk shit about him. And I don't feel that all his content is honest. But what he said is, in his mind, he tells the truth about everything. I disagree with what he says sometimes, and I don't watch a lot of his content because I can't relate to him. But what he's trying to do for his followers is provide continuity, and you know, there's some differences in what his beliefs and experiences are. And you've seen his videos; he's spraying WD-40 all over your car, and it'll last forever and shit like that. That's the bullshit in his mind that he's selling to his customers. By you spraying WD-40 on worn out bushings and parts and underhood stuff is not fixing anything. You know, him waving his hands because that's his thing to get people to stay engaged with him. It works. But yeah, you know, and then his car doesn't have a vacuum leak because it would be shaking and rattling all over the place. No, dumbass, that's not the truth. And that includes YouTubers. We all have to have continuity on what we're telling the world. And that's a fact. So for me, you guys can challenge yourself. Call your local transmission shop. Hey, dude, when do you want me to come back for a transmission service? I'm going to tell you, if it's a truck, they're probably going to want to see it serviced sooner. If it's a car and you're not, you know, there's going to be different times that you should be bringing your car back. And it's beneficial. And then you're like, oh, I never changed my transmission fluid. I never changed my antifreeze. There's some circumstances that is facts. But that's for you and your environment and conditions in your vehicle. And every vehicle is not built the same exact way. You think they all are. Why does one vehicle perform better than the other? It's just the way that it is, you know. I've driven some cars, the same exact cars, and say, wow, this thing's a turd. And then I drive some of the other ones, and I'm like, man, this thing rips. We need continuity in our industry. You know. Anybody else disagree? Thanks for watching. Or agree or disagree.